Everyone, this is Diesel from Imagine Your Goddess, and I am doing a deck profile of my version of Pricia the Beast Lady, a 4 Sacred Beast deck. Before I start, I want to just let you guys know, you might notice that some things are in different color sleeves. My normal version of this has been proxied, so I grabbed sleeves from other decks just to show you the exact cards that are in it. Also, you guys will notice that this deck is not set up to be what people would say, as of today, is competitive. I'll explain that later. But first, let me just talk about the deck. First, you've got Pricia the Beast Lady. She J-activates for 2 green. You can pay any attributes of will in order to play Sacred Beasts. And you can pay 2 to give a target Sacred Beast +1/+1 until end of turn. I find that J-activating her late is really the way to go. Like when you have about 9 mana. 9 mana is sort of the sweet spot. But she tends to be good on the front side too. Just being able to pay any mana for your things gives you options so that you can play your spells with the mana that is actually that color, and play your creatures with whatever mana you have left over. Then in the deck I have 4 copies of Qinglong, 4 copies of Lu Bu, 4 copies of Xuanwu, and 4 copies of Juque. Qinglong is the green 8/8, 3 cost. When you control another 4 Sacred Beast when he enters the field, you can draw a card. And he can pay 1 to give all other 4 Sacred Beasts you control +2/+2 till end of turn. He's really there for the draw and the fact that he's the Wind Resonator, but the fact that he can pump your guys once per turn is pretty cool. Lu Bu is the 3 cost white 6/6 target attack 4 Sacred Beast. And he has target attack, but he also has, when he enters the battlefield, gain 200 life for each 4 Sacred Beasts you have on the field. Usually, when I end up playing him from Pricia's ability, I gain about 1,000 life, or maybe even 2, depending on how good my creature set has been. So it's pretty nice to gain that substantial amount of life back. Then we've got Xuanwu, the 3 cost water 5/7. When he enters the battlefield, you bounce a creature whose total will cost is equal to or less than the number of Sacred Beasts you have in play. So if you play him and he's the 5th, you can bounce something 5 or less back to your opponent's hand. Also, when he blocks, he negates the next damage dealt that turn. What that means is if your opponent chains a Thunder or a Flame of Outer World to him after he's blocked, that will be the damage prevented, not the combat damage. But usually what you end up doing is preventing the combat damage, and that is amazing against like Cthulhu's with Pierce or Musketeers. Really, really nice. Alright, and then we got Juque. Juque is 1 in a red. He's a 400/400 with swiftness. When he enters, he deals 200 damage to target Resonator for each 4 Sacred Beasts you control. So you can do upwards of like 1,200 damage sometimes. It's really, really nice. That is basically the monster set, although there is 2 copies of Feasting and 4 copies of Gretel in the deck. I was playing with Blessing of Yggdrasil instead of Gretel because I like how it lets me search out certain things. But my stone build, which I'll show you in a minute, is all windstones, so it was really not necessary to bring them in tapped when I could just bring them in untapped. So 4 Gretels really is important. My stone build, just to show, is 4 green-red, 4 green-white, and 2 green-blue. By the end of the game, you are flipping Pricia, so you do need various colors of mana to cast your creatures. That's why the blue stones are there. Other than that, the other stones are there to play the spells that I play. I play 4 copies of Keen Sense. Keen Sense is the new cancel target normal spell, or you can destroy a chance standby. This is really good against Rezard. It's going to be good against some of the new forms of Arya and Kaguya, I believe. So I think Keen Sense is the better route than Absolute Cake Zone, even with Gretel's in the deck. I run 4 copies of Zeke's. Zeke's is amazing, and I just think that it's worth the 4 spots. Being able to have utility in your deck is always worthwhile. 3 copies of Dream of Juliet, so that can bounce something back and get the enter the battlefield ability again. Or it can negate a target, or it can blow up an addition, or I can draw a card. I just like that kind of utility. Then I run 3 copies of Exceed the Ancient Mage. It's a counter spell that counters any kind of spell, and if you have Feasting on the board, draw a card. It does cost 3, but I don't find that to be a problem most of the time, because I also run 4 copies of Horn of the Sacred Beast. Horn of the Sacred Beast taps for 1 colorless in order to play Sacred Beast. And then you can also tap it to give your J-Ruler +2/+2 and indestructible if it's Pricia. Because of the new rulings, that means that you can tap these before Pricia flips, flip her, and she gains all the +200s and the imperishable. You can also banish it to shuffle everything back into your deck. So it gives you ability to get cards back after your opponent might try hard to get over your stuff. So we use these to cast most of our Forsaker Beasts, and then we use the regular mana for things like Feasting or Dreams or Zeke's. So it works out pretty well. The best benefit of the deck is when you flip Pricia for 2 mana. She gets target attack if you control a light resonator, swiftness if you control fire, +2/+2 if you control wind, and flying if you control blue. And then you can pay 3 and X for her God's Art to search your deck for X number of Forsaker Beasts with different names out of your deck, and then play X number of Forsaker Beasts with different names from your hand to the field. So essentially, you get up to 9 mana. You've hopefully been keeping strong with all the effects that you've been playing through. And then you pay 2 to flip her. You pay 7. You get the 4 Sacred Beasts out of the deck. You play them all. They go out at the same time. You get all these extra abilities. And then she also becomes, in that turn, a 1,000 target attack swiftness flyer. And that's just... It's a lot of value. She ends up winning the turn that I flip her most of the time. If I get to the point where I flip her, she flips. Now, like I was saying, this deck may not seem playable competitively according to the current format race. We just got out of a Baja format. A lot of people are experimenting with a bunch of Razards and a bunch of Death Ice and a bunch of Glepnirs and a bunch of Steel, what was her name, Maybell, in order to throw people who were playing Baja off guard. And because of that, every deck has to worry about the fact that they don't get swiftness or they don't get imperishable. But I believe that the meta will eventually balance itself out. A lot of people are like, well, this new format, it's just going to be all Blazer all the time. And people are just going to play all anti-J-Ruler stuff and never interact ever. But I think most players agree that in the end, interaction is what we care about. So they'll start that way, but in the end, they'll finish strong by playing decks that do things. And when we talk about going into decks that do things, and not everybody's going to be made boarding for Death Ice or whatever, this deck is super solid, and I love the interactions that it has with itself. For Magic players, it plays a lot like Allies. So I encourage you to give it a shot, give it a build, see how you like it. Make sure you leave comments. Tell me what you think. And as always, I will talk to you later. This is Diesel out.